Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and what I wanted to do in this video was a quick follow-up on the GP-33 grenade launcher, primarily just because I gave it a quick run-through in the initial walkthrough video, but it was really just against some FPS targets, and it was the NPC, so it's mostly going to be like medium and light armor. So I did go out and do a little bit more testing. Now, one of the questions I got was, how does this work against, vehicles, and how does this really compare to like the Animus missile launcher? And I have to say that I'm pretty confident that these are two very different weapons in their intended purposes. Now, on the PTU, the only ground vehicles I have right now are a Grey Cat Rock, and then, of course, like the Dragonflies and the Noxes. And landing shots on them, even when stationary, seems a little bit questionable. I don't know if there's some sort of, glitch to where it kind of goes through the geometry of the ship. I don't know if it's just not the right type of round that's meant to be used on it, but at the end of the day, not every shot that you shoot at it actually causes an explosion or damage. So when you actually compare these numbers, the Animus is far and away better against ground vehicles. You have tracking, you've got the direct hit ability. It seems like the range is probably superior. The only ability that I would say is a real advantage to this is that you get kind of that rapid fire ability and the ability to just kind of dumb fire, which you can do with the Animus as well. But just kind of being able to shoot one until you get all six out, it's kind of a perk. I think I got 2 or 3 confirmed actual hits out of my clip on the Grey Cat Rock, and the health was at about 85%. So it doesn't do enough damage to really make it worthwhile over a launcher. Another potential use case came up as far as maybe using this as like a breaching type of weapon. You get in, you lob a grenade at a door on a ship, and you see if you can get in and actually kind of commandeer a vehicle or a spaceship. And I don't know what sort of damage this is going to do against a ship hull, just because it's hard to really kind of test some of that. Regardless, I think right now what's happening for certain is that these rounds are doing splash damage on the shields. So in order for you to actually use this on a door to cause physical damage, to cause it to malfunction so you can get in there, you have to be relatively close. If you remember my initial video on this, if you have one of these blow up too close to you, it knocks you on your ass. So in space, I would assume this shoots you back pretty far, maybe even kills you. So I think the only real practical application for this would be on like hangar doors like the Carrack or the 890 where you could stand back a little bit. But again, I think that blowback is probably going to be problematic where you're better suited to using like a cutting torch or, even just like a submachine gun. Now, where the real testing came in was against a heavy armed infantry soldier. Luckily, I borrowed my buddy STLYfi, who was willing to die over and over and over again with the assistance of his Cutlass Red to let me basically just lob noob tubes at him and just see what happened to him. So what we discovered was this. I think what's kind of obvious, but you don't really know until you do the testing, is that the range doesn't really matter. When you talk about like an FPS like rifle or a submachine gun, your damage drops off over time because your round loses velocity, so you lose penetration, so it does less damage. When you're talking about, a contained grenade, it doesn't really matter how hard it actually makes impact on you. The damage is coming from the explosion of the round. So it didn't matter if I was 6 feet from him or we tested over 100 meters away. Well, it did have a little bit of a lob that you needed to adjust for. When it actually hit him, it knocked him on his ass and it killed him. So that's kind of conclusive right there. Range doesn't really matter, aside from the ease of actually hitting your target. Now, what I think you need to really understand is like how far out is that splash range that you actually have to be able to work with. Because if you can kill a heavy armed person in one hit, it kills medium and light armor as well. Now, I will say that I didn't test the splash range on medium and light. I wanted to really primarily say, like, how close do you need to get to kill any NPC or any player that you're going to be getting around? So what we did was we set up kind of a range of tests. We said the direct hit was a kill, and then I jumped right out to 2 meters. About 2 meters away from them, like landing on the ground, was a direct kill. Moving that out to about 3 meters, it's not a direct kill. What that does, though, is it ends up being a very quick bleed-out animation. So his character kind of shuddered, and then he bled out quickly. We moved that out to about 4 meters, and it turned his legs red, it turned his chest yellow, and it ended up being a slower bleed-out. 5 meters was a wound. He got the blood splatter on the face. His legs turned red, but there was no bleeding out. And then at 6 meters, there was a strange drop-off where there's just no damage whatsoever. So I think that's really kind of your area of operations right there for this weapon. If you can get within 6 meters of your target, or a little bit inside of 6 meters of your target, it's going to do damage. If you really want that confirmed kill, you need to get within 2 meters of your target, but when you consider that's essentially the players that we're working with laying sideways, you don't have to be all that accurate. And if there's a group of people there, you can get within a lot of damage and being able to put people in a bleed out situation where they're having to equip medi-pens and you can get in there and use other arms to actually take them down. So the launcher, it turns out to be a pretty powerful weapon when used in its intended purpose. I think there's a few outside of the box areas where it could be successful, but for now, I think you really need to stick with where it succeeds. So that's the testing so far. As I play with it, if there's more that's actually relevant, I'll make sure to report on it. Otherwise, stay tuned for more coming soon. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.